What's up, YouTube, and welcome back to the Anabolic Outpost. Once upon a time, when you were a small child and calories and protein didn't exist, there was nothing like waking up on a Saturday morning to the smell of cinnamon rolls baking in the oven. At least for me, this was a treat during my childhood on the weekends when it was cinnamon roll morning and I would just eat cinnamon rolls as my breakfast. Of course though, when calories and protein were invented, sometime when I was around 15 or 16 years old, I started to realize what the consequences were of starting your day off with 0 grams of protein and probably a week's worth of the recommended amount of sugar intake. And for years, I avoided cinnamon rolls until I started to make these anabolic recipes where now I could revisit these unhealthy foods that I ate throughout my entire childhood. So today's recipe is my take on anabolic cinnamon rolls. And in order to make these cinnamon rolls, the first ingredient that you will need is all-purpose flour. Next up is fat-free Greek yogurt, and these two ingredients will combine to make the dough of the cinnamon rolls. Of course, we got cinnamon, 0-calorie brown sugar sweetener, and for the glaze, you'll need vanilla protein powder, fat-free milk, and the sweetener of your choice. And before we start to get our hands dirty making the dough, I'm going to make the cinnamon filling portion of the dough first. And that is simply done by combining the 0-calorie brown sugar sweetener with cinnamon. So for the brown sugar, you will use 36 grams, and for the cinnamon, you will use 2 grams. Go ahead and give it a mix, making sure to break up all those chunks of the brown sugar. Now that that's out of the way, get yourself a head start with preheating the oven to 350 degrees. Now onto the dough, the tricky yet fun part, starting off by combining 200 grams of the all-purpose flour and 200 grams of the fat-free Greek yogurt. From here, you could start to mix this dough together, and I just start by mixing it first with a fork. But once it starts to get hard to mix and clumpy like a dough should be, then you'll have to get in with your hands and finish the process. And I'm starting to do this now by compressing it down with my hands and essentially just mixing it until all of the dry flour powder is turned to dough. And there you have it, a beautiful ball of dough ready to be rolled out. And like you would when rolling out any other dough, you'll want to pre-flour your counter and also just leave a little powder of flour on the side so you could use it as you roll it out and make sure it doesn't get too sticky. Make sure to flour up your rolling pin, and from there you could get to work. I don't really have much commentary here for this part, so other than just going slow and taking your time, just roll it out to about 1/4 of an inch. This is what we have here once I'm done rolling. Don't be too concerned about the shape, you could always just roll it to the mind of its own that the dough has. We're now going to revisit that brown sugar and cinnamon mixture and just sprinkle it all over evenly throughout the dough. Alright, on to the fun part here where we get to roll up the cinnamon roll. And this could either be the most fun or the most nightmarish as you roll it up, all depending on how good you floured your counter. So do not overlook that step. I'm going to start my rolling from the left side, and it all just depends on what shape that your dough has been rolled out to. Keep on going slow, just rolling and pinching at every potential spot of the roll. And there you have it, your tube of rolled dough. And just go cutting down the line about 1 inch between cuts. And using a cookie sheet with parchment paper, space them out and get them ready for baking in the oven. This is what they look like before they go in. And you could send them into your oven preheated at 350 degrees, setting the timer for 20 minutes. On to the final portion of this recipe, the glaze, which is made by combining 30 grams of the vanilla protein powder, 12 grams of monk fruit sweetener, and 60 milliliters of milk. Once you're caught up, go ahead and mix the glaze thoroughly. The 20 minutes is up on the cinnamon rolls, and they are now freshly pulled out of the oven. Using a pastry brush, dip into that glaze that we just mixed and spread them over each individual cinnamon roll. And be generous with this glaze. Unlike that pure sugar that we were fed as kids, this glaze is almost pure protein. So don't feel guilty spreading as much as you want over each roll. And here we are with the finished product, absolutely drowning in that protein glaze. And despite what they look like, the macros are going to be a lot better on paper. This recipe will make 12 individual cinnamon rolls, and each one will have 14 grams of carbs, less than 1 gram of fat, 5 grams of protein, for a total of 80 calories. A hell of a lot than your typical cinnamon roll, so go ahead and make it for your next Sunday morning breakfast and relive some of your favorite childhood memories. And if you're more of a pen and paper style person, go to anabolicoutpost.com. The link directly to the recipe will be in the description down below, and you could follow step by step on paper. That'll do it for today though. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.